So here's where we're currently at, but let me rewind it for just a minute and take you on the real journey of how we got here. Now, I'm no professional videographer, travelographer, journalist, or whatever you want to call it, so what you see is what you're gonna get, okay? Let's enjoy. At the end of 2024, I decided to take a much needed vacation and flew to Japan with my brother and an old friend from college. Starting off on November 5th, I woke up bright and early around 5 a.m. to arrive at the airport here in OKC. My flight to Dallas Fort Worth leaves about 8:52 in the morning, which I would have a connecting flight to Japan around 1:50. And it's been about 10 years since the last time I've flown anywhere in the world, so this was going to be very, very interesting. The night before, I checked my flight information to make sure all was in order. There was a small delay in the flight, but it didn't seem like there was anything major. As my rule of thumb, always arrive at the airport or travel location at least 2 hours before the departure. Once I arrived at the airport, I walked up to the ticket counter and the attendant asked me for my passport. She looks up my flight information and the dreaded words no one ever wants to hear when they're traveling. "I'm sorry, but there was a problem with your flight." I sharply replied, "What do you mean there's a problem?" She begins to tell me that the flight I was supposed to be on was canceled and a new flight I was supposed to be on left yesterday. Supposed to. In shock and confusion, I bring up my American Airlines app and I show her my flight information and everything, my online booking, reservation, and all. And she tells me, "Hang on," while she checks on things. In my mind, I'm thinking, my whole trip is blown. Everything. But as I read my email, there was a notification stating that the flight I was to be on was canceled, but they routed me to another flight, which was supposed to leave the day before. Why? I don't know. This sounds confusing. But it was delayed until the day of my flight. So to make things clear, my flight was canceled, but I have another flight to take. It's just delayed a few minutes. After reading this, sweating bullets, hyperventilating, the attendant confirmed my new flight information, printed me a new ticket, and said, "Sorry for the confusion and the inconvenience, but we have confirmed your new flight. Enjoy," and sent me to the gate. Great start, right? Yeah, sure, okay, whatever. So, I walk through security, I take off the required items, I get to my gate with more than enough time to spare and relax for my flight. And so it began. 8:45 was here. We boarded the plane, the engines roared, and we took off down the runway. I put on my noise-canceling headphones to ease the cabin pressure, and watched some shows on my phone to ease my mind. The flight was quick. It was about maybe an hour and a half. It seemed like 30 minutes when you have entertainment like the Venture Brothers playing nonstop. After arriving in Dallas, we had about 2.5 hours of a layover where I called my family and said some goodbyes. Around 1:45, we hopped on the connecting flight of the big American Airlines Boeing 787, but we had a delay about 40 minutes because we had to wait for our special guests, which were the Japan military who were training in the States, returning back to Japan. After the wait, about 2:30, we were off, zipping down the runway and into the air. Now, for many who don't know, I'm not a fan of planes, okay? I don't know why, but I just get anxiety when I fly, so I generally watch movies to steal my attention away. And so, about an hour into the flight attendants came out and handed out drinks and our first meal. Thank God for going on American Airlines website the night before, filling out the food preference, else I would be getting something dairy related, and bad things would be transpiring in my gut about 35,000 miles in the air. Yeah, we don't want that. So, anyways, I received a meal of sausage, spinach, and basmati rice, a salad, bread, and hummus. Not bad. After eating, I turned on a few movies on my iPad to calm me down. I started off with Austin Powers, of course, who doesn't like that, Waterboy, and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. But due to the fact that I woke up around 5 a.m. this morning, I'm quickly getting tired and decided to get some rest. Unfortunately, when I closed my eyes, I was plagued with the feeling of uneasiness, falling, and moving at a ground speed of 506 miles per hour. Yeah, you get the picture. So for the next 13 hours and 40 minutes minus an hour, I'm up, groggy, tired, and glued to my iPad to steal my attention the whole way to Japan. About 2.5 hours left in the flight. Again, the flight attendants came out with food and drinks. Now, they do serve other kind of drinks and little snacks throughout the flight, but this is later, okay? And to my surprise, they came out with breakfast. Apple cinnamon French toast with turkey sausage. To me, it was a mashup of oatmeal, turkey sausage, and apple cinnamon crisps, but hey, it was flavorful. After eating, about 2 hours of settling, and a good track for landing, we arrive at Haneda Airport at 6:30 p.m. local time. Now, when you arrive at the International Terminal 3 at the Haneda Airport, you need to go through customs, or any international airport. When you arrive in a new country, you'll have to go through customs. And there are two things that you'll need to fill out. Number one, being your disembarkation form, which asks for your purpose of being in Japan, your personal details, your flight information, and address of stay. The next is the customs declaration form, which asks you about the items that you brought with you. If you're bringing any hazardous things, if you got a lot of money on you, or if you're, bringing in something that shouldn't be there, that kind of helps you to fill it out and let them know, pretty much like a declaration. Here's a big tip. Once you grab your baggage and head out the customs clearance exit, to the left of the doors will be a money exchange. If you need to change your money, to buy railway tickets, a bus, your hotel, anything to do with Japan, that's where you want to exchange your money that you brought with you at. Now, I do believe if it's still there should be an ATM on the right side once you come out the gate. And that's where you can be able to grab out Japanese yen. Now, directly straight in front of the exit doors, maybe about 100 feet away, is the Help Center, where they can help you with questions of any kind, and yes, they can speak English. And lastly, diagonally from the help desk to the left will be a transit machine, or multiple transit machines. Should you need to get a transit card, or the Suica Card, which I highly advise any foreigner coming to Japan, is one of the best things you can have while traveling. I'll link a video in the description down below so you can get a better understanding. Now here's another big tip. Before you arrive in Japan, if you're going to stay less than 30 days, or 30 days in total, it's best to get yourself a data plan. There are many to choose from, but I chose to go with Jetpac for my own personal reasons. Having this will allow you to browse the web, data-related things without having to use your current service provider and get charged for large fees of roaming. We're able to use all of our social media apps, maps, online booking, and more. Immediately after we exchanged some money at that money exchange, we received our Suica cards, and we went upstairs to grab some food at Yoshinoya, which is located in the food court of the airport. Next, we went back downstairs to the lower level to get on the transit to our hotel in Kawaguchi. Now here's another big tip. If you're not familiar with Japan's transit system, you can download various apps to help you with your travel. Some like Google, Apple Maps. I actually preferred an app called Transit Japan on iOS, or Metroman Japan, which will give you various trains you can hop onto at specific times. It gives you the transfers in each trip, how much it will cost on each train, and so forth. I'll put that link also in the descriptions down below. And lastly, we booked all of our hotels on booking.com, which made our trip so much easier. Our first hotel was at Toyoko in Kawaguchi Ekimae. I'll list the hotel in the descriptions down below should you want to stay here for your next trip. Thank goodness I researched the area before I left as well, which I will highly advise anyone traveling to do. We jumped on a train, which took about 40 minutes to arrive in Kawaguchi. From the station, we still needed to walk about 10 minutes south to our hotel. Once we arrived, we were greeted warmly by the front desk staff, and were asked to confirm our reservation and receive our room keys. Since we left on election day in the States, which is November 5th, arriving a day later in Japan, we saw the aftermath. Let's just leave it right there, okay? After a 13.5-hour flight, a 2-hour stay in the airport, 40 plus minutes on a transit ride, and 30 minutes of arrival, we made it to our rooms. And I quickly fell asleep. Not before we ventured out into the night to check out the surrounding area, of course. We found a small 7-Eleven close by and picked up some small snacks, drinks, and all kinds of munchies we could handle. Well, this was our first day in Japan. I hope you enjoyed this episode. In the next, we will wake up bright and early, eat breakfast, and meet up with some old friends around Akabane. See you then. Ja ne.